Well, welcome to today's live art stream. This is Pearson here. I am the number one live art streamer in the world, and you're watching The Drawing Habit. Today is day 519. Let's get cracking, shall we? Yeah, let's go. Let's get cracking. Let's do it. Welcome, my friends. I hope you're doing well today. It is a Wednesday. I'm going to be working on so popular wine connoisseur, social media expert, Gary Vaynerchuk. So I'm gonna be drawing him until I feel that I'm done with him, and we're just gonna have a fun time along the way. Let me make sure I can see the comments because there's oftentimes people commenting on this, and I don't see them. I just don't see it. Um, so I never see it. So let's go ahead. Reduce the brushes. Boom. And now, time for the magic to happen. So we're gonna be blending this. We're gonna be blending today using a soft airbrush, just blending all these tones, and then we're going to be adding details. I just want to blend the tones that I have available to me currently, and then I'm going to move ahead and start adding more, tones in the drawing itself. So that's what I'll be doing today. I guess the topic I want to talk about is wrestling. I'm going to try to talk about wrestling for a while. So, I wrestled in high school. Wasn't great, wasn't bad either. But I think wrestling is something that a lot of boys or coming of age boys, high school boys, should probably participate in. I think it's more popular now than it used to be than when I started, because UFC is super popular, but I think it's probably one of the best sports an individual, a boy a kid that has low self-esteem could participate in. I really do believe that. I think it's character building. It makes you a better person. It toughens you up, man. And not to say that it's a bad, like, guys, you got to be tough, man. In this world, you got to be tough because it's going to throw you around. But wrestling, man, it is a sport that I believe many boys should participate in. I did, and I think it made me a better individual. There's this saying that you would hear in like I have an article. I have a article in my basement in my studio, and it says, the title of the article says wrestling is a lifestyle, or is wrestling for life or something. And I'm not meaning that you wrestle all your life, but like the attitude that you get as a wrestler is different than the attitude that you get as a basketball player or a soccer player or football player. You get something that you get a quality that you normally wouldn't get in any other sport. And I think it's because you're doing the sport alone. It takes a lot of grit. It's not an easy sport to participate in, and it's just a strong character building sport. Even if you are not successful, like even if you're not like the state champ or anything like that, just the act of doing that is a great thing for you, or a great thing for a coming of age boy, a guy. I think because just it's a strong character building sport, and you come out with an attitude. You come out with an attitude. One second, I gotta stop something. I gotta do something right quick. Sorry, I'm back. You come out with a a different attitude. Um, just a totally different attitude, and it's just a strong character building trait. Um, the whole act of uh, being a wrestler and having to basically go into combat with another individual, essentially, and to basically you're basically kind of fighting. You're not fist fighting, but you are fighting, and you're trying to win. And it's a very energy demanding, very tough sport. Like, it really, really is a tough sport because it's 6 minutes. It's 6 minutes of physical combat, essentially, and it's you versus another individual who is trying to win. It is not an easy sport. It's a difficult sport, you know, and it requires um, it requires a lot of grit and a lot of perseverance, and it's a character building sport that I think that many individuals that are looking for something that gives them self worth might really gravitate towards, because um, I was one of those individuals in high school where you're like, you didn't fit in, you know, and I signed up for wrestling and it was very good for me. It was a kind of like a character developmental tool that I never thought I would have, and I think it translated really well to adult life, because now I'm doing things that I never thought I would be doing, like the workouts that I do right now. If I hadn't wrestled, I probably would not have won. I would not be doing them. They're so darn tough. The workouts are so darn tough that for me to do them now, if I were to do them, if I had never wrestled and decided to do these workouts, I probably would have quit, because they're so hard. They're so hard. It takes a level of mental strength, like a mental callus that you need to achieve. Like, I'm puking. I'm 1 rep or 2 reps away every workout, 1 or 2 reps away from puking every workout. And it's not like I'm not doing a long workout. I'm not doing a lot of sets and not a lot of reps. Like, the most amount of reps I do on any set is 10 reps. I don't go any more than 10 reps. Every time I go up to 10 reps, I add a little bit more weight to my workout, but I don't do any more than 10 reps. So I'm not doing a lot of weight here. It's the cadence of the weight that's really tiring. But I know that if I were to have, if I was never in a combat sport like wrestling, I probably would have collapsed under the mental, like, strain of the workouts that I'm doing right now. And don't get me wrong, some days I'm working out and I'm like, dude, don't do this. This is awful. This is awful. But other days I'm like, I can stand it. But, like, it's something that I think you should experience. Every guy should experience in their life, especially ones that are in high school. It's a very, very, it's a sport that really builds you up as an individual, and I think it makes you a better individual, because You get a sense of understanding of what you're capable of and what you're able to do, and that makes you a better person, knowing that you're capable of defending yourself in at least a wrestling, a jujitsu like wrestling type of format, not like fist to fist, right? But knowing that you can toss another individual over your head if need be is something I think every guy should be able to do or know how to do. I think it's a very strong character building exercise. That being said, wrestling is hard. It's very hard. It's mentally, physically draining. It takes a lot of out of you, but it makes you a stronger, more confident individual. And you need, in order to like navigate in the world, you got to have, not necessarily have confidence, not necessarily have swagger, but you got to have, you got to be willing to make sacrifices. And wrestling is a one of those sports where you learn how to sacrifice things. You know, um, you learn how to sacrifice your diet, where you don't eat that cheeseburger, you don't eat that um, cookie. You know, you have to sacrifice going out to like high school parties, because you have to go to a weekend training, like a weekend practice, you know, and it's a very honorable sport, I believe. And that may have changed, right? All that may have changed. I'm not sure, but I think it's a good sport that we all that as someone who's trying to develop in their formative years, they're trying to find out who they are as individuals. I think doing being in a doing wrestling as a kid in high school, I think that makes you just a stronger individual. And you need to be stronger, not necessarily strong, I'm not like talking about like physically strong, I'm talking like mentally hardened, and you just become a person who has strong stoic qualities. You have what would it be like, you have a quality that is desirable, like you have a dedication, that you probably wouldn't have before. You have you acquire a level of discipline that you may or may not have had when you were younger or before that time. It's a very good sport to be participating in as a kid. Now it's violent, right? It's violent. It's hard, right? And it's aggressive, and it's challenging. It's full of heartbreak, right? Disappointments and stuff, right? Losses. Unless you're some of those individuals that just like that never lost. There's those wrestlers that like started out when they were a kid, started out at like 5 years old, and like they're just so good now. They don't even have to. Everyone's like a newbie to them. It's like a chess player who started. It's like a chess player who started playing chess when they were 4 years old, and all of a sudden they're a grandmaster at 9, and then like everyone's like a child to them, and they're like, why do you suck at chess? Well, you've been doing it since 4. It's the same with wrestling, man. You can have that same quality. But yeah. So I wrestled as a kid, and I felt that it was one of those strong character developing sports, um, and you get a level of camaraderie with your peers that you probably don't get in any other sport. Like I really do feel that way. Like I think because the the physical stakes are so high. It's so you don't get. I don't think you get in other team sports. I think even though you're like in other team sports, you're actually more dependent on your teammates. But in wrestling, you're not really dependent on them. But in other team sports, I think there's the closeness that you get is not as strong. The bonds that you get is not as strong because I think the 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 stakes that you have to that you're participating in wrestling are much harder, much more demanding, and because they're harder and more demanding, um, we there's like this mutual understanding between your peers that you may or may not be getting from other sports. It's more difficult. People could argue against that, but I think I don't know if there's any sports that's any new sport that's been happening that's changed, unless like uh, ultimate fighting starts going into high school as a high school sport. I don't think. I think that is wrestling is probably the most difficult sport you can pursue in high school. You know, the tournaments that you're in that are you're participating in that are all day long, um, physically tiring, and you're it's very tough. It's never an easy day out. Let's see here. But I remember high school wrestling, man. Almost you almost when you're older, man, when you almost you reminisce about it. You almost like you almost miss that like that competition. Not in like oh, missing the glory days, but like it's almost you don't get that in your normal life, you know. You don't get that type of competition. And it's almost like unless you become a professional at these things, you lose. Guys don't get to participate in competitive sports, and you know they're fun, man. They're a thing that I think you should probably continue on into your adulthood. I wish I had to some degree. You know, I wish I had participated in some sort of sport later on. That's why I weightlift. It's like the closest I can do to be like have a physical activity that is comparable to a uh, a combat sport or a physical sport, something that demands some like physicality to your life. You know, something that demands energy. Let's see here. So we're just going to blend this stuff here. So I'm just happy that I'm actually able to draw now. Like I got 10 minutes left, and it's going to be I'm going to call it a day after that. But as you can see, just blending everything so that it looks decent. So it's going to look like a blurry version of the guy, and then eventually I'm going to start tightening everything up. Tighten it up, you know? So we're just taking these tones. Like that. So if you're looking for like a sense of self and you're young, I would highly suggest you try doing wrestling. There's nothing, no other sport in high school, I think, can give you the sense of personal accomplishment that other sports can give you. I think wrestling is probably one of those sports that really gives you this intense satisfaction, especially when you win a match. You know, because the match, there's no one else in that ring. No one else on that wrestling mat. It's just you and that other individual. And so when you win a match, you've bested that person in that match. And even when you lose, you can't feel bad, because the only way you can feel bad is like you start regretting, like oh, I made a mistake here, etc., etc. But you can't feel bad over it, because it's such a hard sport that just the act of doing it should give you a sense of self-worth and self-accomplishment. Just the act of doing it you should feel pleased at the fact that you were able to compete and verse other wrestlers, or verse another person, combat it, right? Combat it. Is it combat it? Combatant? I don't know how to pronounce that. Anyways. So we're looking good right here. Right here. We're just kind of smoothing everything out. But and I was never really good at, I wasn't like that good. You know, I was decent. You know, I had some pretty good matches against some really good wrestlers in my day, but I wasn't like, it wasn't like something to brag about. I didn't brag about anything. Definitely. Yeah. So it is what it is, man. I don't know. I can't stress it enough. Like, if you want to be the sense of worth that you get from wrestling is unmatched, in my opinion. It's also probably one of the hardest sports you can participate in. That unprofessionally, like if you're not a professional, like you were just doing it in high school, like I think it's one of the most difficult sports you can participate in a high school. In high school, you know. Unmatched, dude. It's unmatched. Second to none. Second to none. No joke. Yeah, I was never any good at it though. I wasn't like fantastic. But I tell you, what I would take, I would, if I can go back in time, I would wrestle all over again, and do it even better than now. Like I wish I could go back in time and do it all over again. You know, because the pain and misery of working of wrestling in high school to the pain and misery of being an adult life and of being an adult. Oh my gosh, I take that anytime because it's like being an adult, man. There's so much more responsibilities, so many things you got to deal with. I'll take wrestling any day. Yeah, I'll take it any day. Very silent now. So I'm trying to figure out things to talk about in wrestling because I'm gonna be doing a podcast this Sunday, and I need to kind of like go through my ideas, and so the best way to do it is to talk about it. And so I'm gonna be talking about it during my live stream, during my live art stream, so I can get some reps in, so I have something to talk about during my podcast. And so that's what I'm trying to focus on. That's why I'm bringing up the idea of wrestling and how it can build character, makes you a strong individual, and how it translates well to real life, or at least I think it does. Maybe it doesn't. Who knows? Because if you can do wrestling, I think you can apply if you can apply the principles of wrestling into your daily life, you can become a very powerful individual. You know, a strong individual, able to do things that other people find painful. You know, um, and you'll be able to do it without feeling like struggle. So I don't know what I'm going to be doing on the base here. Perhaps I'm going to look at I'll have to look at some other portraits and see how other artists break down the base of the just like break down, like how do they crop the bottom. Like sometimes some people make it kind of brushy or very abstract, or very like they fade it. So I'm going to be looking at other portrait artists and seeing what they're doing and seeing if that's something I want to pursue. um, yeah, man. So we'll see what happens. I think today was a good little dialogue I had regarding wrestling. I don't know if it was if anything's are coherent, but I need to find something. Like I need to do some research. I need to sit down and think about like what's good to talk about. Like what's meaningful. Like what has relevance with regards to wrestling, and why is it a sport that is character building? What does it do? You know, is it the fact that you're it's a one-on-one sport where you are the factor, you are the contributing factor to the success of yourself in that sport? Like you can't depend on another individual to carry you. You have to be the person who does that. You know, there are no video game Sherpas in wrestling. You have to do it yourself, right? And you have to be willing to do some of the hard sacrifices You know, I remember there was a guy that was wrestling, and he had to wrestle against another person for a certain weight class because one guy didn't want to diet, so he wanted to have the weight class above him. So he wrestled this one guy and won, and now the person that lost had to like lose like, I don't know, 10 pounds or something like that, or had to diet down, and it wasn't a significant amount of weight, but it was a lot for how much he was already dieting down to maintain the weight that he was at that time. So he had to cut weight even more. Anyways, I'm almost done with the blending so far. I'm going to have to do the hair. I think I might just do the top of the hair, and then I'll start adding tones. Yeah, I think I'll do the top of the hair, and that way I'll be ready to work on the drawing more in depth next drawing session. So we're going to do the hair. We're just going to soften up all this tone here. I tell you what, if I hadn't wrestled, I probably would not have committed to a live stream, committed to doing like a daily live stream or a weekly live stream where I do. I probably wouldn't have done it. I'd probably be like, this is too much work. You know, that's another thing. Like when you have wrestled and you've done a sport that's that hard, other things that seem hard and difficult to average people, not that they're average, but like to other individuals, to you just seems like a Tuesday, right? Just seems like another day for you, right? And so so there's that. So I would not have even considered live streaming because if I had never wrestled, because it would be such a big, like such a hard task to consider. I would not I'd like live stream every day for 500 days or for 100 days straight, you know? It would have been, I would never even fathom it. It'd be so difficult. I thought it would be. I would have thought it would have been a very like a stupid endeavor because I would think it'd be so stupid to do because it required. I think if I had never wrestled, I would have probably thought, oh, live streaming 500 to live stream 500 days straight. No, that's just. I think that I would have thought it would have been impossible, you know. Because the sheer amount of work that's involved with it, right? I would never even considered it. I would have thought it'd been like I thought it would have been pointless. Like I would never even considered doing it. That's what wrestling has kind of bequeathed to me. The act of the understanding of hard work, you know, and really knowing that everything that's worth a grain of salt in your life, worth its weight in salt, is going to take work. And wrestling is probably the quintessential level of work that you could do in high school. Now, if only I had applied my intense effort in my academic studies as the same as with the same vigor and effort that I was applying in my wrestling, I would be in a different state now. I would have been farther off, right? I would have been in a much better state than I am in now because I had, yeah. But you know, coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? My hand's going numb. All right, we're just going to kind of casually add the stuff here, so it's kind of fade. Oops. And then we're going to finish this area, just kind of do a little bit of a blending. Not a lot, just a little bit. Just kind of blend it in. Like that. And then we're going to, yep, boom. What I might want to do is right here, we're going to, let's go ahead and like soften up all of this. Just to soften it up. Nothing too fancy. I want to soften up those edges a little bit. Right, soften it up. There we go. I think that's good. And now we got the blended Gary Vaynerchuk. And now time to slowly develop those details. Don't know how I'm going to do that. I'm just going to kind of just slowly develop it and add more and more details as time goes on. Anyways, I just want to say thank you so much for watching today's live art stream. This is Pearson here, and you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Also, if you subscribe to my, if you follow me on Instagram, I do have weekly art giveaways. As soon as I send out the last 2 pieces, I'm going to be doing another art giveaway real soon on Instagram. So don't forget to follow me on Instagram, and you can have the opportunity to win free art, essentially. I got so much art. I got to get rid of it. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Cheers, man. Let's get out of here. I got to go. Bye.